Welcome to COS Indiana Live. There's never been a more important time in our history than now if you believe it's time to stand up and be free. Stay tuned and come back every Monday at 7 p.m. as our state director and host, Dale Parrish, present the need for self-governance. Our COS Indiana vision statement is to build a grassroots community of Hoosier citizens and legislators dedicated to the constitutional concept of self-governance. So, take it away, Dale.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Marengo Mike, for that introduction. I want to welcome you all to our broadcast this evening. Before we get started, I want to once again remind everyone we are live streaming our broadcast tonight through our YouTube channel, COS Indiana. So for those of you that don't use Facebook, which is where our broadcast comes through our Facebook, state Facebook page, Convention of States Indiana. For those of you or friends of yours that do not use Facebook, you can get our broadcast through YouTube, through our YouTube channel, COS Indiana. So just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of that. We have a special broadcast for you as we do every Monday evening. We've had to make some changes tonight, and I'll get into, when I get into the segments of the broadcast, I'll explain that to you. But due to some scheduling conflicts, we've had to rearrange our guest for this evening. So let me, without further ado, let me get into the explaining the various segments of our broadcast. The very first segment will in fact be the discussion topic. Now, in this segment, I always like to bring in one of our leadership individuals from the state to introduce that person to you and let you know what role that person plays in our state leadership. I also, from time to time, will bring in a guest from our national Convention of States group. And that was who we had scheduled for tonight, but due to scheduling conflicts, we weren't able to do that. But on other occasions, we will pick a topic and perhaps do a panel discussion, and that's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to bring on very shortly here, I'm going to bring on Paul Phillips and Gary Harbaugh, two of our leadership individuals in the state, and the three of us are going to update you all on the results of our 2021 strategy meeting that we conducted on the 29th of August. So that's what we're going to be doing in the first segment. Now, in the second segment, then I will bring up my PowerPoint presentation and we'll go through, give you some general information, some resources basically that we have available to us here in Indiana, as well as a few numbers on how we're performing here in the state. And I might mention we're doing very, very well. But that's what we'll be doing in the second segment. In the third segment, then I want to recognize those viewers that have tuned in tonight to watch us. And if you are a viewer, you can certainly in the chat section submit a question or a comment, and I'll do my best to get that on the screen as best I can. So if you're a viewer, feel free to enter that information in the chat section. So that will be in the third segment. Then in the final segment I call the invitation. This is where we will wrap things up for the evening. And yes, and I will then invite you to join Convention of States. I'll let you know what we're going to be talking about next Monday evening at 7 p.m. So that's what we'll be doing in the invitation section, or the invitation segment. So let's get now going into our first segment, which is the discussion topic. And I will, without further ado, be bringing on two individuals, Paul Phillips and Gary Harbaugh. And let me get their audio on here and bring them both up here. And there we go. And We got the screen set up the way we wanted here. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hi, Dale.
Good. Hi, Dale.
That's Paul Phillips up in the top screen there, and Gary Hallbaugh in the lower screen. So guys, let's talk about then the strategy meeting that we had on August 29th. And I think we all agreed this turned out to be a very good meeting for us. We met in Anderson, met at a church in Anderson, had a very, very good meeting. I think, wouldn't you both agree that it was a good meeting?
Yeah, absolutely. Very productive.
Very.
We've had them in the past, and this was the best one yet, and it was
I think
quite good.
I agree. Paul, I might mention Paul led the meeting. Paul is very good at taking us through the strategic planning process. He claims he's had a lot of experience with doing this, so, and I believe him. I believe him. So it's not an easy process to lead people through, because you never know what to expect. But Paul did a great job. The energy level was very high. The people there, I think we had 16, 18, something like people attend the meeting that day. All leadership individuals from the state. And I think these people were very in tune and very serious about looking at our strategy come 2021. So one of the first things that we dealt with was our vision statement. And you heard Maringo Mike quote our vision statement for Indiana. The change we made with regard to the vision statement is instead of the vision statement that Maringo Mike stated to you for Indiana, starting in 2021, we're going to adopt the national vision statement that Convention of States has put forth for a couple years now, and that is to build a strong, engaged army of self-governing activists. So that will become our vision statement as well here in Indiana. The next thing we did address was creating a mission statement. And I know, Paul, you were involved and have been involved in trying to further develop this statement. And we have some suggestions, right? But we haven't quite ended up with the statement that we want. Am I right?
Right. A mission statement, it's very difficult to get a large group of people to agree to that. And the larger the group, the harder it is. So we had a lot of good discussion on it, but we created a subcommittee that's going to meet and finish off the statement, polish it, and we hope to have that done pretty soon.
By the way, I might mention that we've had a follow-up strategy meeting since the August 29th meeting. We had a virtual follow-up meeting just the other night, as a matter of fact. I think it was the 17th, was it?
Right.
Of September. So we got additional feedback in that meeting and making more progress. So we're still working on this mission statement, but we will come up with a mission statement. The mission statement being a statement of what we're going to do, what we need to do to get us further in line or closer to realizing the vision statement that we have established. So we'll be and when we finalize that, of course, we will start using that, and everyone will know what that is, and we'll be incorporating that into our broadcast here. Now, after that particular agenda item, we got into wildly important goals. And Paul, you want to briefly explain what is a wildly important goal?
Well, basically it's what it says. It's an important goal, something we think is important to advancing towards our vision. And we call it wildly important because it's a big goal. It's something we aspire to and that we can get passionate about. And we ended up identifying 6 wildly important goals to focus on.
Okay. All right. Good. Yes, 6 of them. Now, I might mention we did not have in mind any particular number of goals, right, Paul? I mean, this is 6 is what we ended up with. So that was not a set number ahead of time by any means. The first goal had to do with growing the grassroots, and for 2020, our goal was to reach 52,000 supporters. And we are very, very close already to realizing that goal. So the goal for 2021 has been set at 68,000. And Paul and Gary and I were chatting before the broadcast started this evening that we may even consider bumping that up a little bit, since we're looking at some very, very good performance in 2020. But anyway, the first goal was to reach 68,000 supporters in 2021. And we'll do that through various activities that we will be engaged in as we work on achieving the other goals that we've set. So that's just something that comes about, and we track it every month and report on it every month at our state conference call. So that was goal number 1. Goal number 2, and Paul, I want you to comment on this. We want to increase the youth in our leadership group. So Paul, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. And we defined young volunteers as anybody 30 or younger, and we'd like to specifically focus on recruiting more volunteers of that age group. We've recently begun onboarding a new Young Americans for Convention of States coordinator for the state, and we're getting her up to speed and setting her off with this goal of increasing the number of young volunteers that we have as perhaps district captains or social media warriors or other types of positions.
Okay. Yes, we during the meeting we all looked around and realized it was a room full of old people. So we decided we needed to get some more youth into our organization. Next goal had to do with increasing our region captains. And Gary, you might have some comment on that.
Yeah, Dale, we have 9 regions in the state that correspond roughly to the 9 congressional districts. Right now we have 4 region captains, and so we want to have some additional region captains to really expand our footprint in some of the other regions, particularly where we're not well represented with district captains and active volunteers. So those region captains are keys to recruiting, developing, training district captains. And so that's an important goal for us to get some more region captains on board.
All right, good. And our next goal was, Gary, and I'll let you comment on this one too, was developing a region captain training program.
Yeah, we've recently recruited a couple of region captains, and we kind of came to the realization that we don't really have a training program for them. And so we feel like we need to sit down and look at that and kind of refine a plan for how we help them become effective in their role as region captains.
Okay. All right. Okay, the next goal was developing a call to action program, a CTA program is what we call it. Paul, you might have you have some information on that one, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Indiana is a past state, and we are sort of in a waiting position, waiting to get to 34 states. From time to time, we like to engage the legislature in self-governance issues. And in doing so, we would issue a call to action to our grassroots volunteers to get behind different legislation. And it may be of no surprise to you that this year we anticipate some legislative activity in terms of updating Indiana's laws relating to emergencies and disasters. And our understanding is we're going to be looking at some new bills that would require the automatic engagement of the legislature whenever the governor declares an emergency. So we've started discussing that with legislators and some partner organizations that have the same interests here. And we're expecting in the spring, when the legislature meets, to get behind some legislation that would require to call the legislature into action to help making decisions. So, you know, for us, this is not about masks or no masks or who's essential and not essential and the specific decisions that were made. This is about who decides. So our format here in Indiana has been the governor decides. And we think that's fine for a short period of time. But once an emergency is declared, we need to bring in the legislature as a way to get input from the citizens on these decisions. So we're looking forward to engaging on that. And as a grassroots supporter, you can look forward to some communications from us once the legislature is in session, where you can help us by contacting your legislature and expressing your support for what we're working on.
Okay. All right. Good. Good. Okay. Our last goal had to do with an education program. And this is turning out to really be kind of a twofold program. One where we're going to try and educate the general public more often through conducting virtual town hall meetings. Conducting physical town hall meetings has always been a part of our program, but we're going to look at, starting in 2021, creating these virtual town hall meetings where we will provide education on the Constitution or possibly other topics. But also, as the second part of our education program is our attempt at getting involved in schools and teaching, or involved in some way or another in teaching the Constitution to our young children, our school-age children in this state. And we've established a good relationship, we think, starting a relationship with the Indiana Bar Foundation, who conducts the We the People program throughout certain schools throughout the state of Indiana. So we're hoping to develop a good relationship with them, and that we will be able to maybe participate more in their program. Paul, Gary, any comments from you on this, on the education program?
I think that's widely recognized by the people in our organization that we need more of this education given to young people in our schools. And several of our folks are very passionate about this. And so we want to bring this to fruition so that we can really become more active in this as an organization, not just a few people.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. And I think I want to wrap it up on the concept of self-governance. That's what we're all trying to emulate here, and trying to with our program here in Convention of States in Indiana, and that it's all about self-governance and being more involved in our state and our communities, counties, and locally. So that was the whole tone of the meeting, I think, was self-governance. So guys, any last comments before we wrap it up here?
No, just I think it was a great strategy meeting, and I appreciate the effort of all of our team that put into it to get us such a great result.
All right. All right. Gary, anything, Gary?
I'll second that. We had good participation from more volunteers than we've had in the past at strategy meetings, and that was really exciting to see people there and expressing their thoughts and passions.
All right. Good. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dale.
All right. Paul and Gary, they're both very good individuals in our organization. Well, I'm running a little long on time tonight, so I'm going to get into my PowerPoint presentation, and we'll get through this as quickly as possible here. I'll try and implement the screen view. You should have a full view of the slides. So let's get started. As Marengo Mike said, our vision statement right now for Indiana is to build a Hoosier grassroots community of citizens and legislators dedicated to the constitutional concept of self-governance. And our mission statement here for 2020 has been to meet with all of our state legislators, as many as possible, to talk to them about supporting Convention of States. And then our other mission objective was to grow the grassroots to 52,000 supporters. And as we mentioned in the first segment, we are very, very close to already surpassing that number. So we're on a very good track here in 2020 as far as growing the grassroots. Now, resources that we have available to us here in Indiana, our main resource is our national website, conventionofstates.com. Now, embedded in the national website is our state website page, conventionofstates.com/Indiana. Social media platforms, Facebook being the main one. Convention of States Indiana is our state Facebook page. That's the page that this broadcast is coming through tonight. Also our YouTube channel, which is where we're live streaming tonight's broadcast, and that's COS Indiana. That's also a very much a educational resource for us. We have narrated PowerPoints on there. We have recordings of these broadcasts. We also have links to Paul's podcast, Free to Be Free. So you might want to check those out. Paul's podcast is very, very good. Also on Twitter, COS Indiana, Instagram, Convention of States Indiana. We're also on LinkedIn and other platforms. So if you're into social media, you should easily be able to find us. Okay, we're getting some interference here. I'll come back to this in just a second. Okay. And hopefully that took care of it. I don't know if it did or not, but we'll give it a try here. Let me see if I can get the slideshow option back up here to get the screen showing in the full view. Let's see here. Okay, let me skip on up here. All right. All right. Some numbers as to how we're doing here in the state. In 2019, we surpassed 41,000 supporters. Been growing tremendously here in the state. And as we said, in 2020, we set a goal of 52,000, and looks like we're going to surpass that easily. Amongst the supporters, we have about 80 individuals in a leadership role of one type or another. Those require different amounts of time. So, but in total, we have about 80 individuals in some form of a leadership role. So this is how you get involved. You first go to the national website, conventionofstates.com, open an account, sign the petition, and that makes you a supporter. And that is a very, very important first step, to become a supporter. Now, if you want to get further involved, go to the menu and select Take Action. Scroll down to look at the in the Become a Leader section and look at the different volunteer opportunities that we have available here in the state. There's where you can get more involved in Convention of States. Now, just briefly, Convention of States basics. We won't go into detail on these tonight, but the three tenets involved in our program: the problem, the solution, and the plan. Excuse me. In the problem area, we have identified three abuses by the federal government that we believe need to be addressed. The solution is to call a Convention of States, according to Article 5 of the Constitution, for the purpose of proposing amendments to the Constitution that would address those abuses that we see happening in our federal government. And then the final tenet is our plan, how we're going to bring this all about. I would direct you for more detail to our national website again, conventionofstates.com, and click on the menu selection, Resources, and that page will give you full information on all these basics of Convention of States. All right, let's get back now to the original screen, and let's see how we can identify the some of our viewers tonight. Here's Michael Paisley greeting us, saying good evening. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining us tonight. We also have Rick Lyon. Rick is our events coordinator for the state of Indiana, and his wife Susan heads up our newsletter for the state of Indiana. So Rick and Susan, a husband and wife team for us here in Indiana. So guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Well, let me bring up then my final closing segment here. And first of all, let me tell you what we have planned for next Monday evening on COS Indiana Live. We're going to be bringing on our the lady I call our super volunteer, Debbie Stewart, and Debbie will be giving us another chapter on constitutional literacy. So we try to bring Debbie on about once a month, and we try to, like I said, bring her on and offer up another chapter in constitutional literacy. And I hope you'll join us for that. We've had a lot of people say that they're very interesting. Debbie does a great job in presenting the different chapters. So that's what we have planned for next Monday evening. I always like to wrap up our broadcast with a quote from our president, Mark Meckler. And basically he's saying that, you know, there's a fundamental question facing our country today. And the question is not, what should we do? The question is, who decides? And like he says, the question facing us is a two-word question, very simply, who decides? And you know, when you stop and think about this, and you look at what's going on in our country today, I would hope you would begin to realize how important this concept is of self-governance, and how important it is as to who decides. Because I think a lot of the turmoil that we are experiencing in our country today could be prevented by more people being involved at a local level and being involved in making decisions, as opposed to a central organization in Washington, D.C., for example, making all the decisions, making so many of the decisions, or a centralized point in Indianapolis making all the decisions for us in Indiana. So it's more and more important, I think, where we stand, and we think it's the very simple question: who decides? Is we the people. decide. So with that, folks, I'm going to wrap it up for this evening. Everyone, please have a good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight, and look forward to seeing you next Monday evening at 7 p.m. for another broadcast of COS Indiana Live. Good night, everyone.